Does endurance training affect speed and power? Not particularly, no. If you're running for endurance, you're not training for speed. Speed can only be developed, true speed, by my definition, by training those type IIB muscle fibre types at the top here on the left, where the cursor is. Now, this is based on work by the Strength and Conditioning Academy. I think that's the name of it. They found there's actually, as well as a pyramid of intensities that we know about with the heart rate, as we apply in running, there is also a pyramid of intensities in strength and resistance training. And what has been found is that your brain will not even recruit a single fast twitch or very fast twitch muscle fiber type unless you're lifting 87% or more of your maximal lift in whatever lift that is. So as an example, look at this chart on the left. That's the type 2B muscle fiber type, the big banger as I call him. This is the guy who'll rip your head off. Very, very powerful. But if you ask him to get involved with just lifting your cup, no, too little challenge for this beast. This beast requires a near-maximal output to even think about it, to even get out of bed, which is why he's lying under his bed cover here, which happens to have all the representations of all the intensities on it, you see. So if you want to find out what those are, just stop the video, take a screenshot or whatever. You can do one repetition with 100% of your maximal, or percent of one rep maximum. You can do 2 lifts with 95% of your 1 rep maximum. So let's say you can squat or bench press 100 kilograms, which is reasonably impressive, especially the bench press. If you want to know how much your maximum is and find that out safely, what you can do is you can use this chart. Now, you will, whether you're trained or untrained, on average, be able to just do 10 repetitions, eking it out, really pumping it out on the 10th repetition with 75% of whatever your maximal is. So if you haven't worked out for a while, or you don't know how strong you are right now, you work out with a weight which you think you can handle to about that level. And then if you can safely and just complete 10 reps with good technique without going raggedy and getting full of acidosis, then you can say, well, I'm going to, when I'm rested from this and recovered from this tryout, I'll try a maximal. And the maximal will be 100 kilos. So that's a good way of predicting what you can lift. Different intensities represent different muscle fiber types. So we already know about the strongest muscle fiber type, which uses creatine phosphate, being the type 2B. We know about this one, which uses lactate and glucose as major fuels. That's type 2A. That is very strongly associated with what we don't want until peak racing phase, when we need a bit of this acidosis. That's part of the game with running fast. You need to, at some stage, train this nuisance. Now, if you want to get strong for competition, what seems to have been proven to benefit athletes the most is actually, and we're talking about endurance athletes here, if you want to improve your performance in endurance events, you'd think you might train the endurance fibers first, but no. By far the most impressive results from weight training or endurance training occur when you train specifically the fast twitch type 2B. This is probably because if you start to lift slightly lighter weights and feel the burn, as the bodybuilders call it, the burn is actually the acidosis. You're pumping out heaps and heaps and heaps of hydrogen protons or acid into your system, and that acid and health do not go together. Acid and performance do not go together, definitely. So what slows people down the most when they're going flat out is the bear hops on their back at about the 200 to 250 meter race in the 400. And it's the same with lifting weights. If you're lifting 6 to 12 reps, as you see in a lot of gyms, these guys will be training hard with not huge weights, quite big weights. So this athlete, if an athlete is capable of at his or her best of lifting 100 kilos of whatever lift, if that athlete chooses to train moderately intensely in this area, he or she is doing no good for his improvements in the most powerful muscle fiber types. And as I've said before, he's under the bed cover here. He won't even get out of bed. Not a single nerve fiber will be activated from the brain level to recruit any fast twitch muscle fiber of the type 2B variety. To develop power and strength in your most massive muscle fiber types, you lift between 1 and 5 repetitions of near-maximal. Okay, so if you're an athlete training in the gym through your winter and you want to improve your type 2B fast twitch muscle fiber types in your winter prior to going on to the track in the summer, you can do that by going to the gym, not for a long time, maybe half an hour, if you've got access to the heavy weights you're after. And most of that half hour will be recovery, because you, as I've said before, you need to have ample recovery between sessions of alactic creatine phosphate activity to rephosphorylate and restore the creatine phosphate. So you might find that you can lift 5 lots of 87 kilograms if your maximum is 100 in that alactic window. Once you start to lift more than 5 repetitions, you're starting to get into this acidosis zone in terms of time or time under load. So it's all about your load time. And load time is when you're actively pushing or resisting against the weight. So that has been shown to be by far the quickest and most effective way of developing pure strength. We're talking about the ability to move something very big and something smaller very fast, okay? This brings me to this amazing study done in 1999. It was published in 1999 by a lady called Leena Päiväläinen. And she found that explosive strength training, which is what we're talking about, with very heavy weights, with only a few repetitions, improves 5-kilometer running time by improving running economy and muscle power. So I'm a Lydiard man and I'm an endurance training enthusiast. So does this pull the rug out from what I'm saying? No. This is a way of helping your sprint fibers get trained during a base phase, okay? And I include this just to show you that there are many ways of training muscle fiber types, okay? And you can even train your slow twitch muscle fibers, your endurance fibers, if you wanted to, specifically by doing 65% of your maximal 15 reps. Anything in these windows will train primarily the muscle fiber types on the right here. So anyway, the net effect was, as shown up here, a study published in 1999 demonstrated a statistically significant improvement in 5,000 meter time in well-trained individuals, despite no significant improvement in VO2 max or anaerobic threshold. These individuals experienced orienteers trained with low repetition, heavy weight protocols and reduced total aerobic training by 35%, yet improved. The increased leg strength translated to an increased stride length at every level of running intensity. Okay, does this mean that you can go and lift weights and then go out onto the track and run faster? Not necessarily, no. because these are experienced athletes. They're well used to the discomfort, physiologically and psychologically, they're hardened or inured to the constancy and the discomfort racing long distances at near your maximal cardiac output. That requires a tolerance of fatigue, or a pain tolerance, or a tolerance to acid loads that can only be trained by specific training. So that's why if you acquired a massive aerobic base and chose to, as Sebastian Coe did, and by the way, he was trained on Lydiard lines, I have to say, he, instead of using, like Lydiard would specifically, he used both hill training sessions, or the plyometric benefits of hill training, as well as weight training. He did a lot of squatting at what was for him very heavy weights to increase his power. This shows you, this is a chart I prepared myself. It's based on the assumption that the foregoing study mentioned was correct and true. If we could improve our stride length 0.5% because of this increased leg strength over the course of a 5,000 meters, let's say the average stride length of the athlete at those speeds was 2 meters. That would mean that the athlete was now running 2 meters and 1 centimeter, or 2.01 meters. That would translate in performance to a 4.2 second improvement, or 1355. Now, if we were to take the improvement to 2.5, it's not difficult to double your leg strength with weight training in a few weeks. I've done it on several occasions. Because your thighs contain a great deal of muscle mass, when you do things like squats and you lift near maximals, there's a very quick response in the fast twitch muscle fiber types, because there's no acidosis generated with a correct lifting approach, because you're only exercising or recruiting those most powerful muscle fiber types. And because you're only recruiting those, you're not recruiting the second most powerful. You're avoiding the acid buildup or acid load that plagues bodybuilders primarily. And so it's a bit of a myth that's crept into general training, that you need to feel the burn when you're lifting heavy weights. You need to work very hard and put out maximal exertion. But what you don't need, and what you don't get with specifically exercising the type 2B muscle fiber types, is this buildup of acidosis, which is so bad for your body. So you can make rapid gains in strength. You won't make rapid gains in size necessarily, because the type 2B muscle fiber types, although they're the most powerful, in cross-section, they don't have any of the cross-sectional area of the second most powerful muscle fiber types. So those cartoon representations of the muscle fiber types represent the power outputs relatively of each of these muscle fiber types, not the actual size. So the biggest muscle fiber types in cross-sectional area, as opposed to functional muscle, is in the type 2A. And a lot of that volume of muscle fiber is taken up by cell fluids, and it needs a lot of fluid in the cell to dilute the acid, because the body seeks alkalinity, or very mild alkalinity, and it'll do whatever it can to dilute toxins with fluid, or water, or cytoplasmic fluid in the muscle, or sarcoplasmic fluid. Okay, so you get the drift there. So you can actually improve your endurance by lifting weights, but that will probably give you a pretty good idea of why middle distance athletes particularly use weights, apart from hills, to increase their strength. The downsides of lifting with weights are usually that you have to lift in a facility which is supervised, have people spotting you or making sure that you don't damage yourself when you're lifting up near your maximals. There are a few downsides, but if you lift weights correctly and properly at the right time of the season leading into a peak, you can really make big gains and benefits in terms of stride length and capability. So as for instance, a 3-minute 40, 1500 meter runner could in theory improve with just stride length alone and no changes in maximum VO2 max or anaerobic threshold, as stated previously, to 334.5, which is going from absolute national class to, I'd say, absolute world class. Okay, now with the type 2B muscle fiber types, the most explosive, there are several different ways of training them. I'll deal with resistance training first. You lift with weights that are at least 87% of your 1 rep maximum. Heavy weights, only 5 to 6 reps are possible if you're lifting heavily enough, but these won't take you into acidosis, okay? So that is a great way of exercising the fast twitch type 2B muscle fiber types. Hill bounding, skipping exercises, plyometric exercises, bounding exercises, they will train your fast twitch muscle fiber types, and pure fast twitch or fast running over very short distances in the alactic zone. That will train your fast twitch muscle fiber type the best, okay? Your type 2B. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. If you have any further questions, get in contact with me and I'll see if I can answer them for you. Okay, see ya.